Louisa Marie, compulsive gambler. Day 75. No gambling to report. Oh, today I'm in 31 Days of Praise. I'm reading Enjoying God Anew by Ruth Myers. I'm on page 26 and praising at all times, question mark. Giving thanks in every situation, question mark. A life of praise may appeal to you, but what does it involve? Question mark. You may be puzzled about what it means to praise continually and give thanks always in every situation. Won't this lead to denying your true feelings? Does it mean that when you stub your toe or hit your thumb with a hammer, your spontaneous response must be, "Thank you, Lord"? Isn't it dishonest to give thanks if you don't feel thankful? All right, and she goes on and talks about, the process of her thanks. For me, I don't know. And I say that honestly. I don't know when or how. I mean, I've been exposed, over 20 years to the 12-step process, and sometimes I feel what I learned in the beginning was the truest form of 12-step work. I had two sponsors. I called them my bookends. And, one had experience in the substance abuse field. He retired from it. And then the other bookend had experience with criminal justice. And she retired from that. And so I was like, I call myself the meat in the sandwich. I was the newcomer. And I was very opinionated, with my background in military service, involvement in, factory work, including the semiconductor industry, carbon fiber, um, and then, turning my hobby of books. So I became a bookseller at a flea market. And so that's where I learned to have a conversation with people, especially about what they were reading. But despite all of that, I was drinking. It's like, decline. It's like, I was drinking, through the process, until March 12th. Oh, wow. Till March 12th, 2006, and I always wondered why, as much as I liked, drinking on St. Patrick's Day, I mean St. Patty's Day, man, I would be like, totally, because I drank Guinness. I would start with, black and tan, which is Guinness and Bass, and, you know, yeah. Yeah, and then, by the end of the night, I was, just drinking Guinness. Started with half and half, and then, full throttle. But that was, I mean, I didn't see anything wrong with it, you know? And that was the problem. I didn't see anything wrong with it, I told myself, I'm not doing it like every day. But, when you know the bartenders at the Green Frog and you're like staying, helping them close up and, and having conversations about the crowd, doing karaoke. I mean, at first it was just, go in, sit at the bar and, order a half and half, right? And I would watch people leave, go home to their families and stuff. Um, hmm. I can't remember what was going on, right? I mean, I was working, you know, in a factory. I think what the problem was, I just had too much time on my hands. It's like, yeah, like all these people calling, like while I'm recording. I'll call them back if it's important, right? That's what I'm saying. Uh, yeah, yeah. My life was just otherwise known as gift of distractions, right? And I could never, just focus on what I'm trying to do at the moment, right? Without, yeah. I was like, people don't call me until I'm trying to do something. It just, it's like I'm a magnet or something. It's like, I'm trying, trying to focus. And yeah, I've been up all morning. I haven't gotten a phone call. It's just, I digress, right? And so, yeah, that's the essence of it for me. Yeah, yeah. My meditative, yeah, my contemplative prayer involves just speaking into the mic. TD Jakes is like, don't drop the mic, right? So it goes back to the David Viscott, Viscott method. He was, an MD, and he worked with people that seemed to be stuck in their thought patterns, and the only way he just would record the session, back when they had cassette tapes and everything, let that person, rant, and then give them the tape. give them their give them their album. Listen to the words that are coming out of your mouth. I love that. Which movie is that? That's Chris Tucker. Do you understand the words are coming out of my mouth? It's like, nah, I don't. So the process of being your own therapist, right? Yeah, I mean, is it quirky to do this process? Really? I mean, what's wrong with becoming your own best friend? I mean, I tell you what, I have gone back to previous recordings, and it's like 13 monkeys, man. I'm like, whoa. Did I say that manifestation? And then I'm over here, you know, ranting about, what materialized. I mean, the power of our words, the power of speech, speaking into existence. And, yeah, It's all about language. And then when, and also I add to it, you know, by reading out of spiritual literature and writing at the same time, this day 75 began when, I looked at, I was doing some studying at 11:11 p.m. I'm like, wow, you know, I had to answer the question, question 6. Um, did gambling cause a decrease in your ambition or efficiency? And yes, it did. And, the what ifs haunted me daily. If they only knew I'm so small inside with a history as a bookmaker. I mean, this is like generational for me. I'm not the first, I'm legacy. And I was broken, I was kind of broken because I really, my dad made the choice to separate from all of that. He did a study of nature versus nurture, and so he believed, that if he raised me, properly, I wouldn't gamble. Uh, I witnessed it in the home, so yeah, and so since I witnessed it in a home, then I could see what, what you needed, only to find, people in general didn't care to get deep into the heart of most matters, right? I mean, it's like, I gave suggestions, I mean, like, as far as luck, it's belief, you can, I mean, you can, carry, like bingo, you can have all your trolls set up and everything. But, I mean, there, gosh, Kurt Cobain said it best, when he was talking about, money, when you're broke and you're going to thrift stores and you're hunting and you have to make that choice. I got this much money and this is how much it's cost. You will try to do some bargaining, right? In your mind, maybe with the shop owner, in Turkey, that's the whole experience of a bazaar, drinking some tea, you know, getting to know each other before even trading, and, so that's the lifestyle, that I grew up with, antiquing, and then eventually I became a flea market vendor, and it's like, you tell me a story, um, you know, chances are I would negotiate the price, if you had a great story, right? But, if you came at me with, well, I can get this for such and such over there, and I'm like, well, go there. For real. Go over there. But if you tell me that this item reminds me of, a certain moment in your life and we get to chat, that for me, was payment, the story of the item and why it's so important to you. Sure, man. It's like, it's just it's just an item for me, but if I get a little history about it, yeah, that's a good trade for me, right? But, I tell you what, before you even come through the door, if you're another bookmaker, bookmakers know bookmakers, man. It's like, don't even, girl. Don't even try. I already know the moment you walk through the door. So it's like, the hustle, um, and for the most part, I was very tolerant of the lifestyle. It was frustrating, you know, but, drink a couple of, beers afterwards. But I didn't realize, trying to do so much, try to do antiquing, have a full-time job in factory work, and then getting a job, on the side, my as my father would say, my other fake job, stripping on a pole. I mean, I started in waitressing, slinging beer. However, you know, things happen. And that always happens to a waitress. I mean, especially if you're new. Now, if you're an experienced waitress, no, it doesn't happen. The trick, right? How they get new dancers, you know. But yeah, I did go back to waitressing, after doing, my 9-month stint of started. This was just TABC, tobacco, alcohol, tobacco and alcohol, uh, and all the rules in serving. So, you know, it's nothing, for me. That is my mess, which is my message. And I'm very thankful, for everything that I did to this point, because today, I'm just in wound care, after a hangnail surgery, and I'm good. Peace out.